All right, kindergartners, let's get started with social studies for today. Today is going to be our second day working with timelines and artifacts that help tell our story. Our checklist for today, we're going to review the objectives, watch the lesson video, complete the assignment, and then click Mark as done on Google Classroom. Our objectives for today, I can identify artifacts that make me unique. I can explain artifacts that make me unique. Today you're going to need a piece of paper and crayons, pencils, and markers, or anything else you have to draw with. All right, yesterday we learned about a timeline. And again, a timeline is showing increments of time, starting from the first thing that happened to the most recent thing that happened. So this is giving us the example of a long time ago, and what's happening today. And yesterday you put 3 pictures on a timeline that represented a baby, a toddler, and a kindergartner. Do you remember which one happened a long time ago? The baby, good job. Which one happened a long time ago? The toddler. And which one happened today? You are a kindergartner. Great work. So today I have a story for us to read or listen to called Timelines. And this is going to give us a lot of different examples of a timeline. When we're done, you are going to be putting your own timeline together, starting from when you are 1, 2, 3, 4, and now you are probably 5. All right, so again, we're going to watch the story called Timelines, and then you are going to create your own timeline. Get ready to listen.
Timelines by Kelly Bosworth. What is a timeline? A timeline is a chart that tells a story. It shows a set of events and in what order they happened. It also shows how much time passed between each event. Like common toys. 1800s we had the top. 1900s we had the yo-yo. And then in 2000 we had the Wii. You can make a timeline of events from long ago, or you can make a timeline of what happens every day. Picture timelines. Dion wants to make a timeline of his day. He asks his dad to take a picture of each thing he does. Dion wakes up, eats breakfast, gets dressed, and goes to school. When Dion gets home, he has a snack and plays outside. Then it is time for dinner, homework, brushing his teeth, and bed. What a busy day. Dion looks at his pictures. He draws a line that stands for time. He puts the pictures in the order that the events happened. Waking up comes first. Wake up 7 a.m. Go to school 8:30. Play with brother after school 3:30. Homework after dinner 7 o'clock. Brush teeth 8:15. Bedtime 8:30. Going to bed comes last. He writes times below each picture to show when each event happened. Now Dion can see his whole day. Vertical timelines. Anna and her mom have a timeline to keep track of the special things that Anna has done. Anna is growing up. She can ride a bike and tie her shoes. A vertical timeline goes up and down. Anna's timeline begins at the bottom when she was a baby. Each year the timeline gets taller, just like Anna. Anna's mom writes the date next to the words that tell what Anna did. The timeline helps them remember these important events. Horizontal timelines. Anna and her friends were all born in the same year. They find their birthdays on the calendar. Jay's birthday is in September, Lucia's is in May, and Sarah was born in June. Anna's birthday is in March. Who is the oldest? Let's use a timeline to find out. We put the months in a horizontal line, which goes sideways. January is the first month of the year. December comes last. The friends place their names below their birthday month. Anna is the oldest. Who is the youngest? Circle timelines. It is time for a field trip. Mr. Smith's class takes a bus to the apple orchard. The students pick apples, ride in a hay wagon, and bob for apples. After a picnic lunch, they ride the bus back to school. The students make a circle timeline to tell about their trip. A circle timeline shows a journey that ends in the same place it began. Start, see the bus? Then they go to the orchard, they have their hay ride. The field trip timeline begins and ends at school. The rest of the circle shows all the things the children did in between. Bobbing for apples, eat, and then they end back up at school. Map timelines. We can also use a map to make a timeline of the field trip. This map shows when and where each event happened. 10 o'clock bus, 11:30 apple bobbing, 11:45 picnic, and 12:15 bus. 10:15 picking apples, 11 o'clock hayride. What time was the picnic? 11:45. Airplane pilots use timelines to stay on track. John's family flew from New York to Florida. A map timeline shows the route they took and where they were at each hour. We can travel across the country in a few hours on an airplane. So they started in New York at 12 o'clock. At 1 o'clock, they were over Virginia. At 2 o'clock, they were over South Carolina. And at 3 o'clock, they were in Florida. Tabletop timelines. Long ago, there were no jet planes. People found other ways to fly. This tabletop timeline uses objects to show how flying has changed over many years. In 1783, a hot air balloon was used. In 1903, an airplane. In 1970, a jumbo jet. In 1981, a space shuttle. What do you think the next way to fly will be? Living timelines. Let's make a living timeline. What order would you put these items in to make a timeline, or for the bean sprouts? Which would be first? Which would be second? Finger trace each picture to a box to show their order. Which would be last? There are many ways to make a timeline. You can take photos or draw pictures. You can use words. You can go up, across, or in a circle. You can even make a living timeline with your friends.
All right, so in that story, you heard lots of different examples of a timeline. Here is your job today. I want you to think about your whole life. So right now, you are probably 5, right? And before you were 5, you were 4. Before you were 4, you were 3. Before you were 3, you were 2 years old. And before that, you were 1 years old. So you are going to think of artifacts that told your story when you were 1. So maybe your favorite toy was a rattle or blocks. So you are going to draw a picture of that when you were 1. Maybe when you were 2, an artifact would be that you liked to eat applesauce. then you can draw a picture of that artifact from when you were 2. Okay, so that's kind of giving you an idea of what this is going to look like. Your first job is going to be to get out your piece of paper and make your timeline look just like mine. So you're going to draw a big horizontal line and then 5 marks just like this with the numbers above it. So this is going to represent when you are 1 years old, 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old, and 5 years old. Okay, so that's your first shot. Make your paper look just like mine. Then you are going to think of an artifact that would help tell your story when you are each of these ages. And you might need a grown-up to help remind you or help you think about some artifacts that could help tell your story when you were younger. Okay, so maybe a good place to start would be to start when you're 5. Can you think of an artifact that would help tell your story right now? Remember, things that help tell your story are where you live, what you eat, the clothes you wear, the people you live with, your favorite toys, your favorite color. Those are all artifacts that help tell your story. So you can either start when you were 1 and draw an artifact for when you were 1, and then move on to when you were 2, 3, 4, and then end up with when you were 5, or you were probably 5 now, or you can start with starting at when you're 5 right now and draw an artifact that tells your story now and then go backwards. So it's your choice how you fill out your timeline, but that is your job for today. So again, you're going to draw a timeline that looks just like mine, and you are going to think of an artifact that tells your story for each age. And if you need a grown-up or a big brother or sister or cousin or aunt or uncle to help you, that is totally fine. But I want your drawings to be your own drawings. All right? When you're done, make sure you take a picture and put it on the next slide, and then click Mark as Done on Google Classroom.